Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome along to the wilds of Suffolk. I'm out here yet again doing what I do, walking along in beautiful locations, and today is absolutely gorgeous and giving you my thoughts and opinions on things that are happening in the world in the public consciousness. If it's your first time here, welcome. I hope you enjoy what I'm doing today. If you're a returning subscriber, or 1,319 I think there are of you today, welcome back, or welcome one and all. So today is, as I say, gorgeous. Sun is shining. It's a bit cold here in the UK today. I'm out in Suffolk in the UK on the east coast. It is a bit cold, but absolutely sun is shining. It's beautiful, and I hope it's as wonderful where you are today. But you didn't come here for the weather report, right? So today I've titled this video Change, Adapt, Overcome. So we are living in very turbulent and changing times at the moment in our world. Our reality that we experience is reality anyway. And I wanted to come out and just do a bit of a talk about what I see and what it means, and where this takes us ultimately, because this is tumultuous times lead to different places. And as anyone that's been here for any period of time at all has heard me tell the story of the lobster, and nothing ever changes when you're comfortable. Things have to be uncomfortable for things to change. So are you uncomfortable yet? If not, you soon will be. So this if you look around in our world, things are crazy. I mean, and it's only going to get crazier. It's only going to get crazier. I've been talking, on these videos for about 3 years now, maybe a bit more. Who knows? I can't keep up times. Not real anyway. We made it up. I've been talking about this and saying, look, things are going to get crazy for a long, long time. And every day I wake up and it's crazier still. I mean, it's mental. So things are totally out of whack. I mean, none of it makes any sense. Well, it does if you're looking at it from a perspective of far enough away that you can view the events that are happening in the world and be removed from it to a point where you can see the bigger picture unfolding and what it means, and what you can do personally to change, adapt and overcome the changes that are happening in the world. So let's see, where should we start? I mean, there's so many jumping off points of things that are happening in the world at the moment. It's mental. It's completely insane. So if we start with events that are transpiring here in the UK, and we'll start with, there's a little monkjack deer's just taken off, in Ireland. So I don't know whether you saw or not, but there was a riot in Dublin in Ireland. And of course the media was saying, oh, it's those alt-right and the fascists and the Trump supporters, or racists is what it is, xenophobes who don't like foreigners coming into their country. Now, this whole idea that foreigners are coming into the country, and by the boatload, that we should be happy with that, people coming in illegally. Now, I'm going to come at this from a couple of different perspectives, okay? Now, I'm a foreigner in this land. I came to this country 24 years ago now, and came through legally. I bought a ticket on a plane. I had to go through passport control to make sure I wasn't a criminal or a terrorist or some other problem person who was coming to this country. I had to be vetted, of course, through the systems that are in place, the passport controls, and integrated into the society, worked, paid taxes, which are criminal, but have to take part in the system if you want to be part of it, and have made a life for myself here through hard work, perseverance, building a network of people that have supported me, surrounded me, and they've worked hard to get where I am. I haven't asked for anything. I wanted nothing. I'm not the kind of person that goes in the dole or expects anything from the government, because I don't trust them. So I don't want to be reliant on them. So when I came here that way, I came here for the purpose of creating something, to leave something behind, to make a life for myself. Now, the problem that we face in our world today is that people from other countries, where I'm going to get to why they've left, but we'll just, people from other countries have come here expecting something for free because they've been promised that. You know, oh, come to the UK and you can have, you know, a house for free and benefits and, you know, other things that are promised, that are paid for by the average person. Now, that's all well and good if they're going to contribute something to the society and be able to integrate into the society and give something back. But are they? Now, in Ireland, there was a immigrant, a migrant, whatever we're going to call them, economic migrants. Who knows? Let's just make up a name. Economic migrant, who stabbed 5 children. Okay? And enough was enough for the people of Dublin, and they finally snapped and pushed back on what was going on. Instantly deemed racists and xenophobes and, oh, you just don't want foreigners in your country, that the country can't support. It can't support its own people that have been there, you know, working, contributing to the society. It can't support those people, but we can support millions of other people that are being imported through NGOs. That is non-government organisations, or non-governmental organisations for those who are not into acronyms. Now, at this point, I should add that we have an issue in our world. Well, we have lots of issues in our world, but we have one in particular. We have people that want to leave their home countries and travel to the countries that they say are the most racist in the world, like England and America and, you know, those kind of places, UK. Why do they want to do that? Why would they want to leave their country and travel to a place where we're all told the most racist places in the world, that we don't accept people from outside of different skin colours, of course, because, you know, we're racist and xenophobes. Why would they want to do that? Why would they want to leave their countries and come here, or go to America, or, you know, definitely America, the most racist place in the world, that wants to build a border wall, because border walls are racist, except if you're in Israel, then it's not racist. So we have a situation in our world where, I've been talking about this forever and a day as well, we have social engineers, people that want to engineer us socially, control the population, do all sorts of wonderful things like that, like the World Economic Forum and the World Health Organization. Anything with world or international in the name, you can tell it's a, you know, not a good organization. So these people, for want of a better word, I don't think they're people. Monsters is more close to the correct terminology. They want to engineer our society into a warring factions or feudal society, as espoused by Yuval Noah Harari. If you've ever heard that name before, perhaps you should look him up. His particular area of interest is feudal history, where if you create pockets of different people that identify with identification, identify as an Apache attack helicopter, individual was isolationism, pockets of people that are willing to go to war with each other, feudalism, where, you know, if you are controlling the whole spectrum of the movement of people and how people interact through media, social media, you know, politics, all the other little bits that you can use to make people war with each other, divide and conquer. Oldest trick in the book being used again. You know, if you take people from one culture that has cultural norms that aren't the norm in, say, other areas like in Europe or the UK, America, and try and integrate those societies, you can have cultural biases that can spark tension. Now, these people knowing this, deliberately engineering these people moving from place to place. I mean, you've got people that have nothing, okay? Nothing. Why do they have nothing? Oh, well, let's just shut the world down for no good reason for a virus that spontaneously erupted from a bat and a pangolin having sex in a wet market. Bullshit! Sorry, must have the new strain. We shut down the world economically a few years ago for nothing, for the flu. And, the politicians are giving themselves a free pass. Oh, well, we did the best we could with the knowledge that we had. More bullshit. While they're having parties, of course, here in Downing Street, the Prime Minister and, all of his cronies, Health Secretary banging his secretary, of course, because it was so dangerous to be moving amongst people and being around other people. They were having parties in number 10. Woohoo! Yeah, everyone's locked down. We can do what we like, though, because we're in charge, and well, that's just the way it is. Now, the average person refused to look beyond what they were told in the television, by the television, because that's anti-science, is to ask questions, which is basically what science is supposed to be, asking questions of the reality that's presented to us, right? Science questions itself. Science questions the results. Science, real science, doesn't just say, well, now we know the answer. We don't have to look anymore. Just trust the science. Yeah, trust the science. Now, I can't remember his name. I do apologize. It was a Hungarian doctor 100 years ago or so who dared to suggest, I mean, how could you possibly do this? He questioned the science. Where he dares to suggest that he noticed that the number of babies dying in the maternity wards was massive. And he dared to suggest that the students that were studying in the morgues on dead bodies washed their hands before they went and helped deliver babies. And, he did it himself and proved that there was less mortality in infants, dying during birth and just after birth when they washed their hands. But the medical community not only shunned the guy, they took away his medical license, and he killed himself because they destroyed his life, because he questioned the science. Oh, but Christian, that's 100 years ago. That's 100 years ago. That's not relevant today. Really? When we say just trust the science, at what point do we say, well, the science is settled now? The science is settled now. Just like the climate science that we know, the global warming exists. We know it. The world's warmer than it ever was. Except it's only when you ask the question, okay, at what point are we starting to measure the temperatures from? It's the warmest in history. Okay, so when did we start measuring temperature? Maybe it's the warmest since we started measuring temperature, but thousands of years ago, the world goes through cycles, and we're going through cycles of cooling and warming periods due to sun activity, if there is such a thing, and we're not to take that into account, because we have to trust the science. We should just trust everything the politicians and the TV and the people in white lab coats. They wouldn't lie to us. Why would they? There's not an agenda at play. Now, we're not talking about an agenda. What's all this got to do with migration, you say, Chris? Because we're being told it's not just the science we can't question, it's the politicians, it's the corporations, it's everything that we're coming into contact with, this reality that we're presented with through these media organisations that are controlled by 6 corporations, by the way. The media, the politicians, who are not bought off and paid for by the corporations that are contributing to their campaign funds to keep them in power. Definitely not the corporations that are telling us, just trust us, we're telling you the truth. The lobbying networks in the US, let me take a step back just for a moment. How do you think laws are made? How do you think laws are made? You have ideas that are put forward to, well, there's a few different mechanisms that laws are made. You have case law, that is cases that have been through the courts, that have had resolutions to those cases, where that case law is then presented as law. Okay, so an interpretation of the law that was written by politicians and, you know, those people in those legal law writing positions. They've come up with a law, it might be hundreds of years old, but then a modern interpretation of that law is then interpreted by modern case law. So there might have been a case that's gone through the courts that has clarified the point of what that wording means, because words, spells, have meaning, and words have power. And the knowing that when this case law is settled, then you have an interpretation of the law as it stands. So, but another way of the law is that you have politicians that vote on what is going to be legally acceptable in that country where you are. Now, those laws are influenced by corporations. Now you have these multinational, international, monopolistic corporations such as BlackRock, State Street, Vanguard, Google, Facebook, Twitter, or X as it's now known. You have these multinational corporations that are funding these politicians, and money talks. Whether you like it or not, money talks. And you're talking about companies that use hundreds of millions of dollars, billions even, that are siphoned through and filtered through lots of mechanisms, like the money that was getting sent over to Ukraine, for instance, was being laundered through a crypto exchange called FTX that was set up to do exactly that. It was a money laundering operation. That's why they had 20 shell companies that the money was routed through, that was set up by Sam Bankman-Fried's parents, who are both tax attorneys. It just gets stupider and stupider, doesn't it? So to make it almost impossible to trace the money. So this money gets laundered through these kind of programs, international programs, where we're sending money to Afghanistan for gender diversity programs in Afghanistan, where the Taliban cuts your head off if you're gay, you know. So this money's getting laundered through these programs and then sent back to politicians' campaign funds, which then they spend on things like cleaning their moat of their second home. Here in the UK, the expenses scandal, if you remember how that went down. And then these wealthy people, they then invest their money in tax, or you can't say avoidance schemes, it's tax deferment or offshore tax schemes. Even the Queen did it. You know, it's all right for the Queen, you and me. No. You can't do that, because then you'll be in jail. But this money, and we're talking billions of dollars, money talks. Politicians are criminals, and they're there purely not for the good of the people. Well, look, you have people that might go into politics with a worldview of, I'm going to change the system from within, but the system is fundamentally corrupt. Two-party politics is exactly that. You have two parties constantly at war with each other, giving you the illusion of truth, of choice. The problem is choice. There is no choice. It's an illusion of choice. No, what does the Merovingian say in TheMatrix? No, wrong. Choice is an illusion between those with power and those without. Now, these corporations are giving, donating, like Warren Buffett, I'm giving all my money to charity. And Bill and Melinda Gates, all of our money goes to charity. It goes into a foundation that, what does the foundation do? Goes towards social engineering. The social programs that we want to inflict on people are what we're giving our money to. And it's things like the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation gives to, and through their foundation, of course, something called Gavi, which is Global Vaccine Fund. Not to give vaccines away, by the way, just to create them to make more money. Bill Gates bragged that he made 20 billion out of the COVID vaccine. Oh, but it's all for your benefit. It's not, we're not benefiting from it while they fly around their private jets around the world to attend climate conferences to tell us all you're bad people for, wanting to have a car to get to work. Now, these same people, these same corrupt, fascist. I mean, I could go on and on with adjectives and names that I could call these people, but at the end of the day, they're corrupt, they are hypocrites, they are worthless scum. Oh, but Chris, they create things like Microsoft. They created this wonderful programs that we use. No, sorry, Bill Gates never created anything. There was IBM that created Microsoft, but don't believe me, I'm crazy. Now, these same people that gather once a year at a conference in Switzerland called the World Economic Forum is a group of corporations that tell politicians, because politicians and corporations attend these meetings, the corporations are controlling the politicians through money and through their influence and power of pushing the money to the politicians and influencing the result of how laws are created for their benefit. Monopoly laws, gone. They're out the window. So you have monopolistic behaviours of corporations buying up, like for instance in the financial world, in the corporate financial world, we have new tech startups that are and can influence how value moves around the world from point A to point B. Anything of value can move through the internet for free without involving the massive banking cartel that runs the world through how money moves around the world. They have a monopoly on how that money moves. It's called the SWIFT system, SWIFT. It's a corporation that's run by the major banks in the world, JP Morgan and blah blah blah, Citibank, and the biggest banks in the world decide how and when money moves. And if you step outside the system, if you don't like the way that politics is done in America or the UK or whatever, like Iran and Russia and China and these other countries, then we'll just cut you off from the system. So whatever you think of Russia or China or Iran or whatever you've been told to think of them. Now, I'm not saying that they're saints, and I'm not a Putin apologist by any stretch of the imagination, but we've been told how to think through the way that the media frames everything that we see. All the invasion in Ukraine means Russia's bad. We can invade Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Yemen. The list goes on and on and on, which is part of why people want to leave those nations. Not only did we shut the world down for 3 years 3 years ago, not only did we shut the world down economically, but we're creating wars in these nations in the Middle East and in Africa through funding that creates instability where people want to get away from that war that has been created by the same people that are trying to manipulate us into fighting with each other. The same organisations, the same foundations, Clinton Foundation, that took in $1 billion to build homes in Haiti after the earthquake, the massive earthquake in Haiti many years ago. And how many homes did they build? 3. Where did all the money go? Where did all the children go? That's a bigger question. Where did all the children go? And why is there so much talk about child trafficking around the world? And why is it such a massive industry? Who is it feeding? What do they get out of it? There's a movie called Sound of Freedom. If you haven't seen it, worth a watch. But my point is, when you see what's going on in the world, the hiding of information, the obfuscation, I love that word, of information, and the way that the narrative is being formulated for the people to see through the television and through the media, social media, every aspect of how the information is delivered to us is being filtered through a prism of what do we want the people to believe and how can we have them either lulled into, I'll just go and watch Netflix and chill, or some porn or whatever it is, it's the call of the day, or have them fight with each other and turn on each other, even friends and family, turn on each other, and for what? Over something as silly as whether women or whether women can have penises or not. Honestly. So we have a situation in our world where the narrative is controlled 100% by a few corporations. The politicians are controlled by a few corporations. Our money is controlled by a few corporations. But yet we're told that the governments are the problem. The government is not the problem. The corporate entities that are controlling all the money, all the access to everything in the world are the problem. You know, the gatekeepers of information, the gatekeepers of money, the gatekeepers of how we interact, the gatekeepers of everything is a few corporations that decide how we're going to live and what we have to accept as being truth and reality. Now, when we look at, I've talked about this many times before, about this reality that we live in, this simulation or whatever we're going to call it, it doesn't matter, whatever you want to call it, is created through what we give our power to. So the double slit experiment, if you don't know what that is, go and have a look. It's a little bit of science, yeah. So as light moves through, or particles move through a slit in a thing, and how it is displayed on the catchment sheet on the paper, have a look at the double slit experiment. I posted a video of it, I think, on Telegram, on Facebook as well. Or Schrodinger's cat. The Schrodinger's cat experiment, which is the thought experiment where you have a cat that goes into a box with a radioactive isotope, and it will eventually kill the cat, probably, right? So in the box, the cat exists in both states, in both alive and dead. And the only way that we truly know either way is when we look at that cat, or when we open the box, and we as observers influence the result of what's happening. Now, if we as observers, as partakers in this reality, this simulation, if we can influence the result, and all the information that with our input of information is coming from people who want to engineer our society into a particular way of being, if all of our information has come through them, is it really our input that's influencing a result, or are we being influenced into a way of thinking that influences the results to create the reality, not that we want, but that they want? Think about that for a second, okay? Now, in this, as the title suggests, in this change, adapt, overcome, we as participants, as influencers in this grand experiment, this grand simulation, reality, whatever you want to call it, don't care. We as the participants in this, if we're not creating the reality that we want through our actions, through our thoughts, what we share and what we do, then somebody else is creating it for us. So it's not our reality anymore, it's theirs. So social engineering 101 right there. Now, I've been exceedingly busy. I work 7 days a week. I've been down to London working for a couple of weeks. Exceedingly busy trying to ensure that as we go through the changes that we're going to go through, our world is changing. Whether we like it or not, it's changing. We can have an influence over how we change it, meaning where we put our time, our effort, and our money. Now, I had to take some time off, and examine my place in this. Is what I'm doing contributing worthwhile? Because at the end of the day, I am one lone voice in the whole wilderness of people talking and the information that's being put out there. And at the end of the day, who am I? I'm just some guy that walks along in the woods. I mean, I'm not wealthy, I'm not influential, I'm not powerful, I have none of that. I'm just an average person that sees and reports what I see, and in hopes that through adding my voice to this, in opposition to the way that our society and our consciousness is being manipulated by people, that I can perhaps help change and influence the result, through that observation. Now, I've been so busy, I haven't been able to get out and do these things anyway, but I have been questioning what I've been doing here and whether it's really worthwhile. Am I actually doing anything? I have so many wonderful people that feed back these wonderful messages to me and pick me up and and keep me pushing forward. But the other day, an American Thanksgiving, Vince Taglavia over at Red Pill Project, or Decentralized Media, as they're calling themselves now, you know, he sent me a wonderful message saying, you know, you are influential in the community. And it's just, you know, things like that buoy me. And all the messages I get in the comments, and, you know, it really buoys me, and think, you know, I can't give up, because giving up means giving in. And that's not how I am. It's not who I am. It's not what I'm about. And it's not what this message is. It's not what I'm doing this for. I have to keep on going and adding my voice to the pushback, you know, the way I am on Twitter. I'll actively tell politicians to fuck off, because it's that kind of language, that kind of influence that influences the algorithm that they pick up on. Oh, how far can we push this before people are ready to cut our heads off? You know, that kind of stuff. You know, the French Revolution, vive la revolution. Now, I'm not a proponent for violence. I don't want things to go that way. I'm not that person. I don't want to have to be that person. I prefer to come out and do a walk in the forest and talk about my thoughts and how I see things than it get to that point where things have to be, you know, French Revolution style, where people are losing their heads. I don't want to have to go that way. I don't want to have to. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to have to. But so with the message that I'm trying to put out today: change, adapt, overcome. Recognize that there are changes happening in the world. It's happening. The way that how we value things. You know, I heard a great quote the other day: everyone knows the cost of everything, but they know the value of nothing. I think it's a wonderful quote. I think it was Josh over at Red Pill said that. Not positive, but I don't even know whether that's his, but you know, it's that kind of message that we share, and how we see the world through that prism. The change, adapt, overcome. You have to adapt and change to how the world is going to be, and how, look, we are increasingly a technological society. Look, I'm talking to you on a telephone as I walk through the forest out in the middle of nowhere, and that's being shared around the world. You know, this is, you have to be, you know, I'm a 51-year-old man. You know, I've lived through a lot of changes in this world, and I've adapted to how things are, where I live, what the economic situation is, you know, all those things. But if you can't see beyond the end of your nose, like most people are so caught up in their own lives. Oh, well, I work, I watch the Kardashians, I raise my children, and you know, that's all I've got time for. I'm getting drunk on a Friday night and spending my entire week's wages over the weekend on alcohol and drugs. I've been there, done that, got the t-shirt. But, you know, I've changed. And I've tried to adapt my worldview to what I see happening, and what can I do to understand, mitigate, and adapt to how things are going to be going forward. You know, I've had to learn a lot about digital money. I've had to learn a lot about physical money, what is actual money, God's money as they call it, gold and silver, what it means, and why the banks are all collecting it in huge, vast amounts across the world. Perhaps there's a revaluation of those real world assets that's coming. Maybe not. You know, and how do I do what I need to do to make sure that as we come through this period of great transformation. Now, I want to leave you with a point that's both poignant and disturbing. The world makes huge advances during wartime, okay? Surgery, surgeons learn a lot more about how to do certain things during wartime, because different injuries are presented to them and they have to work out new ways and techniques of doing things. Technology, you know, rocketry and all these kind of things are developed more in war, because, you know, they want to develop better weapons. You know, all this technological advances, whether we like it or not, happens during war, during tumultuous times. And things are tumultuous right now. We're going through a period of great turmoil and fighting over stupid shit like resources. I mean, it's really unnecessary that we're being told that resources are scarce when they're not. So as we go through this turmoil and this panic and this crazy time that we're living through, we have to recognize that what's going to come from the other side is going to be a completely different world than what we live in. And you either understand that we're moving from one place to another and move with it and help to influence the results, so what we have on the other side isn't just one group of people or one group of monsters or social engineers, how they want it to be, but how we want it to be, and how our influence and our input and our money and our time and our energy can help influence the result, not just for yourself, but for the benefit of people across the world. You know, helping people maintain their cultural identity and an identity and where they come from and what that means and why people from those regions of the world are like that. So as we recognize what's happening, make changes, adapt and overcome the obstacles that are going to come to you. Because if you can't think beyond, well, my life is my life and that's just the way I've always done it, that's the way I'm always going to do it, you will be a victim of the changes that are happening rather than an influencer and a creator. Do you want to create your reality, or you want to live in somebody else's creation that might not benefit you? That's the question you have to ask yourself. That's the question I'm leaving on the table for you today. So thank you one and all for joining me. Sorry it's been so long between videos. It is what it is. I work 7 days a week. It's mental, but know that I care about you all, and the reason I'm still here doing this and why I'm thinking about this and passing on information as I can is because I care about what people would think, and I care about how people are living, and I care about the results and the outcomes of the times that we live in. So while I can't be here making videos all the time, know that I am still focused on trying to read through the information, see how the world is, and report back as I can. And the interesting things I see over on Telegram, Facebook, and all that kind of stuff, interesting things I see to report back and give you tools to help you see a different way of being and seeing a different way of looking at the way the world is moving. That's what I'm doing, and I hope that by doing that it can help you to understand things better. So all that said, go out into the world, do good, be good, and you can change the world with the way that you talk, the way that you interact with people, the things you do. What you leave behind in this world is your mark. So do that. But most important, look after yourself, look after each other, and I look forward to seeing you real soon. Ciao for now.